Alright, my name is Shannon.
Hi, I'm Crystal.
This is going to be our review for, God dang it, what's that movie called? Will You Be My Neighbor?
Yes, I was like, what should we be doing?
So to begin with, we went to go see the movie Uncle Drew. And so from what I could tell about the movie, it was kind of just a okay, summer comedy movie, black comedy movie at that.
It was very traditional black trope movie.
And, and we went to go watch it in theaters, and maybe about 20 minutes in, we realized that we could be watching something better.
Yeah.
And so we decided to watch the movie Will You Be My Neighbor? And I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think it's a great watch. I think it's a movie I can watch again and get a different meaning out of it. It's a movie I can probably, look back maybe 10 years from now and just, rewatch it and get a different meaning, depending on what life phase you're in. I recommend this movie for anyone above, like, I say, 18. The movie's not really meant for kids, because I think a lot of the messages in the movie, maybe just because you're at a different phase in life, at least for me, I think if my little sister saw this movie who was like 16, she wouldn't understand the complete impact of the movie. She'll see the movie as a documentary piece, but some of the emotional aspects of it and what Mr. Robertson was trying to convey, some of it might get lost. You don't completely agree with me, so give me your opinion.
Well, I was thinking that maybe it is appropriate for kids because Mr. Rogers' content was for kids.
Okay.
But the documentary took it from the perspective of like we're scaling what he did and kind of like what it embodied as him as a person.
Okay.
And it kind of touches on like what kind of psychological issues guided him to be passionate into what he did with TV. So yeah, I don't think kids would understand, but the snippets of it to where he was like showing his acting in the TV shows through the documentary, I think that would be useful for kids because I'm not even sure if Mr. Rogers is airing on PBS still.
No.
So if kids were introduced to that, maybe that would arouse some type of interest for educational TV.
Yeah, when we first saw this movie, we before we actually went to see Uncle Drew, we walked into a screening of Will You Be My Neighbor for like the last 15-20 minutes, and I feel bad about this movie because it was well shot, it was well documented, it's it's a very emotional movie, but I was so kind of I won't say disappointed, and then we walked in the screening of this movie, which I think is 1,000 times more memorable and better than probably Uncle Drew, at least in my opinion.
By far.
That there's like 4 people there, and they're all elderly. And then you go to Uncle Drew at the exact same time, the place is almost 3/4 packed full of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, they could be I mean, at the end of the day, they can pick whatever they want to watch. But it's kind of sad when they make a film this, I would say, at least in my view, important. And more people just like, forget it, we're going to watch Uncle Drew, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, the importance of the movie and what it's trying to embody does not equal to box office sales.
Yeah, and for me personally, I don't remember like the marketing for Won't You Be My Neighbor. Maybe I missed it, or maybe I wasn't like the target demographic for advertisements when I've been online. But I've never seen the trailer of the movie, so I don't know if people are more so looking for something more comedy related, and that's why they're veering towards that, or if Won't You Be My Neighbor was actually popularized like it should have been. Because a lot of people know about Mr. Rogers to not be at least slightly interested in the documentary.
For just speaking on that, a lot of people don't know this, but Pepsi was a sponsor of Uncle Drew. Uncle Drew was a Pepsi commercial, and then so the company Pepsi, they paid for Uncle Drew to be made. It's very low budget. Like, I don't know if you noticed if you watch the movie, a lot of Pepsi scenes, because they're drinking a soda, it's always a Pepsi. I think it's Pepsi and Nike, they mention Jordans a lot, that kind of stuff, is that kind of movie. And so Pepsi had a lot of marketing with their drinks. If you go buy Pepsi right now, it'll have an Uncle Drew on it. But Won't You Be My Neighbor was a much more low budget, compared to the amount of money Pepsi had in terms of marketing. They had a lot more money, they didn't have as much money to market. And so Won't You Be My Neighbor was like a kind of maybe a few $1 million worth of a documentary piece. Versus a whole entire corporation say, okay, we're going to make people watch this movie, free advertising for our drinks, That's what I read, so.
Yeah, no, I think there definitely was budget differences. But Won't You Be My Neighbor, it definitely had a more of a compelling story, because I didn't know that side of Mr. Rogers. I just thought he was kind of like, what is his name? The guy from Blue's Clues? I thought he was just a paid guy to be like some child, like, I don't know, actor. Just for the child, like the target demographic for like children ages. I thought he was just there to do a job. but I didn't realize how passionate he was about it and the messages that he conveys. Because as a child, you don't really know what's being impressed upon you. You're just absorbing what you see. But his messages were consistently uplifting, and they catered to the child at heart.
Okay, we talked a lot about the aspects around the movie. Let's talk about the movie itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so what aspects of the movie did you like? What did you dislike? And would you recommend that people go watch it? Would you go watch it again? Like, give me those kind of rundown of those aspects.
What I liked most about the documentary was what that meant for, like, what it meant for Mr. Rogers to do the show. It was from the perspective of, like, his inner child. Like, it wasn't, like, primarily, like, his personal motivation to do these shows, but it was more of, like, I want to make sure that when things are happening in the world, that children they're not afraid. They feel like they can't have some type of outlet for the emotions that they're feeling. There's no need for them to close in on themselves and feel like, you know, they're alone. Like, they can feel the way that they feel and it'd be okay. And that message I thought was really good for the documentary to have, and it really showcased how caring Mr. Rogers was. And it wasn't just his on-screen personality, it was him wherever he was. Like, one of the most powerful, like, moments of the documentary was when his son was like, he didn't know there could be a second Christ. And, like, that kind of made me get shivers, because it's like, for someone to hold their father in such a high regard that they would consider him, like, Christ level, like, that's pretty, like, that's phenomenal. So that was really cool to, like, get that insight into who he was as a person. Yeah. And then, as far as, like, downsides, I don't think there are any downsides. There's a weird moment in the movie, the gorilla scene.
Yeah.
Like, that one I was really uncomfortable, and, like, spoilers, but he visited this gorilla and he was hugging on it, and they were, like, really close, and I was just like, this is awkward. And obviously Mr. Rogers he felt awkward too, but it was just like, the gorilla, like, kissed him on the cheek or something, I don't know, something like that. I just thought that was awkward.
Okay.
But overall, the documentary had a great message. I really respect Mr. Rogers and what he did, especially for children everywhere.
Did you learn a lot about him?
I learned a lot about him. And just, like, what he had to go through to basically keep his show on the air.
Yeah.
So I would definitely give it, like, I'd say, like, a 9 out of 10 for documentaries. Okay. It was really good. I cried during it, so.
Okay. Me personally, when it comes to the movie, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked the different aspects of the movie. I think it was really important to talk about his childhood at the beginning. Talked about how he actually got into the role of being, you know, into child media. He was, if you no one knows, he was actually a devout, wasn't he? He wasn't also willing to be a bishop, like his way.
He was like a priest or something. He was Presbyterian.
Yeah, he was finishing his schooling to be like a pastor.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he decided to go a different route to spread his message. But his message was not, I wouldn't say it's as religious and overbearing as most religions. His was more like, listen to your neighbor, love thy neighbor, won't you be my neighbor? Yeah. There was an aspect in the movie where, you know, he had a black person who came on the show with him. And he did a lot of things to show that, you know, him and the black guy, even during this time where there was a lot of social unrest, that, you know, he believed in it. You know, he was not just a Christian who did these things, he really believed them. And at one point in the movie, he realized the black guy was gay, and he told the guy he couldn't be outrightly gay because he would damage the black people, but he never had a problem with him being gay. Yeah. And so he always differentiate his message than himself. After watching this, maybe I had a lot more respect for him, because in the show he was pushing the limits of what he could get away with. He was talking about assassinations, race relationships, 9/11. He was talking about all this stuff that today it would be very hard to see someone talk about that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like, if you watch cartoons now, they're not talking about anything deep. Most kids are getting away from regular media and they're watching YouTube videos. And, you know, PewDiePie is not talking about nothing deep. Markiplier is talking about nothing deep. They're just screaming, playing the new Slenderman game.
Yeah.
And so all these different aspects are kind of lost on kids. And Mr. Rogers was talking to kids all the way to maybe like 13, 12, 10. A lot of kid TV shows kind of stop at 6? Like, you start watching Dora at 6. And so there's a gap between 6 and 12 that I think Mr. Rogers filled for a lot of kids. And we really don't have that media anymore. and I think it's kind of sad. And lastly, about his life, he did a lot of struggles, and even to his death, that it was kind of crazy how the movie went full circle. That even at his death, that people were protesting at his funeral, not about him being gay, but he tolerated homosexuality itself. And it just kind of shows on so many different levels the kind of struggles he had to go through. He was never a guy who thought he was perfect. He had a lot of struggles himself. And I think in the movie you can get anything from overcoming difficulty, loving people, respecting those around you. I mean, I would say it's a feel-good documentary.
Yeah.
Totally. And, if you don't cry during watching this movie, you have a heavy heart. it's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're cold inside if you don't feel any type of emotion.
But overall, if I had to give the movie a rating, I'm about to give it 10 out of 10. Like, it might be that high, because honest to God, for what the movie was trying to do, it did it. I can't really fault the movie on any aspects like visualization, what they were trying to tell. The point was to tell about Mr. Rogers' life and make it compelling, and they did that. I'm not asking for them to have a big climax at the end. I'm not asking them to do anything crazy. For what it did, it executed 100%. I mean, they probably could have added stuff to it, but as a total package as a movie, I would give it a 10. And the last thing I would mention is about the whole gorilla scene. That, depending on what kind of person you are, you can get a lot of different things from that scene. When I saw that scene, the part was that he was staring at this gorilla in his eyes,
Yeah.
and the people in the documentary were mentioning how he could connect with anybody. And you can watch that and maybe says like, well, gorillas or monkeys are souls too, and he could tap into that. Or maybe his message was so deep that even animals could understand it. Like it's so, I guess, almost instinctual of a level of understanding. Like there's a lot of different things you come out this movie with, and I think overall I would just recommend it to anybody. I saw this week Ant-Man and Jurassic World were #1, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. We were promoting movies like Transformers, and we're pushing around movies that really should be there.
And they don't have an underlying message that you can take home and like incorporate into your life.
I think that's an overall problem with most people. It's just a bigger general thing. I think most people want a summer movie that they can step away from reality, and watching something like Mr. Rogers kind of bears reality on them. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Maybe we need to. I mean, the thing is, as capitalism, people are gonna watch what they want to watch. People spend their money how they want to spend it. But you think there's any way that we can get more people to watch quality, at least quality movies, or movies that are much more deep than just the next Marvel movie? I do enjoy Marvel movies, behind me. I love Marvel movies, but there's a spot for that and there's a spot for this.
Right.
Do you think there's any way they could do that, or do you think there's any way that these companies that can even compete with these huge companies like Marvel?
We have to get a budget behind it, because I don't see why Mr. Rogers didn't do as well as I thought it should have, because he's world renowned. Like
Okay.
everyone, I think, in our age group knows who Mr. Rogers is.
Okay.
Like in our age group and older, so it's like for it not to have done well is because it didn't have the money backing it up. And
Relatively to the other.
relatively
Okay.
to something like Uncle Drew, I don't think it had that much money behind it.
Okay.
It's in relation, it didn't have the marketing.
Okay, if Boo to Medea Halloween puts out more money than Mr. Rogers,
We have a problem.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed with America.
we need a revolution. This whole country needs to stop
I'll be
tomorrow.
at the next rally.
But yeah, I mean, I have nothing else to say about the movie. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you're even thinking about watching it, go watch it. This is a movie I would say go spend your money immediately. I would say a lot of movies you can probably watch online. But this movie, I would say go to theaters and support them.
Yeah.
Because they went out of their way to tell this story, and they deserve to be supported 100%.
I agree.
All right. Anything else to say?
No, I would also say bring your kids to watch it too, because I feel like it opens that conversation. It's like, do you have a child that's probably not communicating with you as much as they probably should, or do they feel like they can't say things to you because of fearing punishment or something like that? Mr. Rogers tried to tap into that to kind of be like that second option if you can't open up to your parents or if your parents are oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think bringing your kids would be a good thing, because maybe that'll be like, okay, maybe I should talk to my parents because I'm feeling sad today and I want to address this to my parent. or the parent is opening their eyes and be like, okay, maybe I should communicate more with my child. So it has a lot of benefits that you could take home. And just realize that communication should be open, and just because they're a child, they shouldn't just be seen, they can be heard too.
Yeah. Yeah, last thing, like I said, I think there's a spot in media that we need someone like Mr. Rogers who can, what he did at that age range was very vital. Like I said, today we don't have that. And it's very interesting to watch this movie and realize, well, these kids today, they don't have this kind of emotional outlook. Like I said, they're watching Teen Titan Go or, I don't know what the cartoon,
I don't know what's on Cartoon Network. I'm pretty sure it's Teen Titans Go for like
it was Adventure Time for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's not like, it's, what I'm saying?
Didn't Powerpuff Girls come back?
It
I
came
like
back.
Powerpuff Girls.
Teen Titans Go, like all these, Wizard Waverly Place been gone for years.
Yeah. We're dating ourselves.
But like, I'm curious to see if there's anything that's gonna happen. But there is no place. Like Jake's all he watches is YouTube videos of people screaming, running around in circles. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have anything intellectually and entertaining simultaneously.
Right.
It's pure entertainment. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Rogers is like a combination of both.
Yeah. It was like edutainment.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, that's where my general thoughts are, and that's Crystals, and we're out.
Bye.